Okay, and for the second video, what I want to point out is the MLA and APA difference. So there's a couple of resources up here. We use this sort of longer guide. All of it's still correct. It's just a bit it can be a bit long to work your way through it, but it's every question you might have about standard MLA. So it shows the way the heading is supposed to look. It shows examples of if you have an author name, this is how you do author names. If you have multiple author names, it shows you an example of that. Anywhere up to three authors, you list all of their names. But if you have 4 or more authors, we use this et al. Let's see if I can make this bigger. So 4 or more authors, this means the primary author and everyone else. So just a sense of how different ways you can cite authors. Then this shows you how to, as I showed you in the earlier video, if you don't have an author, you use an article title. These are ways of setting up an in-text citation with an article title. And last but not least, if you don't have an author or an article title, you can use the website, and that's how you set up a website. Websites and larger works are always in italics. Article titles are always in quotation marks, and authors are not punctuated at all. And I showed you how to do that hanging indent. This is what a works cited sheet should look like. And then that explains how to break these all down. But people find the most useful thing is how to do, again, these are our in-text citations. They're going directly into your paper. So that's an MLA guide. And then I also, under this essay writing, I think Al Purdue, I'm sure you've used it before, has a really good guide for both APA and MLA. So I appreciate the overview and workshop they do here on APA. And I'm just going to highlight some of the major differences. So I like these general APA guidelines. The biggest thing about, let me close this, about APA that's different than MLA starts with formatting. So APA asks for structurally two different things. There's a title page in APA, and they use what's called paper sections. So there's literally in the body of an APA paper, you'll have something that's an abstract or intro, and then the paper will be broken into sections. So for essay 1, you might have sections that say, context of the social and political change, rhetoric of the social and political change, and you'll use that directly in the paper, and I'll show you an example of that. So that's what a cover sheet looks like in APA. They give you some sense of what an abstract should be. And then, as we said before, APA is dictated by author name, if you have it, and the date of the research. So this gets into lots of different ways to do it, but I think the easiest way might be to go back out here and to actually look at two samples of these. So this is a student paper from a class I had a couple of springs ago that is set up as an APA paper. So I want to point out some things in this. So this is what's called a running head. You literally say running head, and it's the name of your paper and the page number, and that is going to run all the way through your paper. So running head, and you set that up by inserting a header here. And then this is the basic information that needs to be on a cover sheet in APA. And then you'll notice in APA, again, that running header is on every page. And you'll start to see you literally write introduction or abstract as you start your paper. In MLA, you don't need that. And you can see the student is setting up sections. So contributions to science is a section heading. So everything in that is about contributions to science. And this is topically a paper that is not what we're writing right now, but challenges within the field. There's another section heading. So you'll see that in APA, they actually use section headings to separate the different parts of the paper. The other thing you'll notice are the in-text citations. So we just discussed what an MLA in-text citation looks like. For APA, you are using a very similar quotations. So you have a beginning quote and an ending quote. They go in the same place as MLA, but you notice in your in-text citation you have an author, you have a comma, and a year. So like I said, APA is dictated not by page number, which MLA is, but by year that the research is done. So, and they use a comma here where MLA does not. So the punctuation's the same until you get to this in-text citation. We need author, comma, year the research was done. And you'll notice that's consistent all the way through. This is Martin. His research was done in 2016. Author and date of the research. This is one of those situations where there was a lot of authors listed, so they did 4 or more authors. They just did the primary author et al. 2016, which just means in everyone else. And I'm just looking for, let's say, for instance here, this quote did not have an author attached to it. They found it from this source, and what you'll notice in APA is it's still dictated by date, but you don't punctuate in APA the way you do in MLA. So if this is it's most likely a website, but it doesn't have to be italicized and it doesn't have to be in quotation marks. You can just list it, and the reader will go to your works cited sheet and see what it is. So that's the other major difference between in-text citations and MLA versus APA, is that their source information is not punctuated the same way as in MLA. But again, if you don't have an author, you can still use the source. You just have to give us whatever source information you do have. Much of the work you do in APA, though, you'll most likely have authors attached to it. APA is highly dictated by research reports and things that are authored and have a clear year that the research is done. So those are the primary differences. The title page, the section headings, which are these. The in-text citation is author and year with a comma. And the works cited is called references rather than works cited. But this is set up the same way an MLA sheet is set up, with hanging indent alphabetically. So if we go back over to, and this is the exercise you're working on this week, in MLA paper, you can see the major differences. One is that an MLA paper does not have a cover page. We start simply with this heading. This heading does not have to run on every page. This is the only thing that has to run on every page. There's no section titles throughout the whole paper. And your in-text citation is author, page number, no comma. If you don't have an author, it's article with quotation marks around it and page number. No headings, no running head at the top, only a last name and page number. And your works cited. This was a long paper. Oh, this is a good example too. In MLA, if you have a long quote, which means it's going to take up 4 or more lines in your paragraph, you have to set it apart. So this is a quote, you center it here, and then it defies everything you ever learned about MLA, which is you take the quotation marks off, you put the period here, and your in-text citation, your last name and page number goes after that. So we've totally switched it up on you when you're using a long quote. But remember this is all aligned together. You take the quotation marks off, and the author goes here in the parenthetical citation. And I can show you that again if you need me to. But we scroll all the way down, and the works cited again is set up alphabetically with a hanging indent. It's called works cited. You don't need a heading here, and it's all of your sources. So in this activity, I ask for you to take a look at these sources, certainly listen to my video, and then you're just gonna try to determine the differences between MLA and APA. And I feel like if you can do this, you not only understand the differences, but you're beginning to decide which one you think you want to use for your paper. And I'll help you with either one, but I want you to know the differences. So I'm asking you to fill this sheet out. We're going to keep working on this all semester, but this is a good refresher. And please send any questions my way if this doesn't make sense. And when I see your drafts, I'll know kind of where our comfort level is with APA and MLA, and I'll make sure that I'm sort of directing you from there. Okay, good luck with this.